Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a quick video on how to do a slip stitch. So some supplies that you're going to need include a pair of scissors, a thimble. I highly suggest a thimble. I use a leather thimble because I like the fact that I can still grip the needle with the thimble. Hand sewing needle, and I will link to a video in the description where she talks about good quality hand sewing needles and where to get them and what brands to use. And then you'll want some hand sewing thread. Today I'm just using some cotton thread. This is not designed for hand sewing, but specifically if you are doing a project where you're doing a lot of sewing. I'm not going to be doing a lot because I just have a small project today. As an example for you guys, you want to make sure you have the right kind of thread. So something like a waxed linen thread or a silk thread, something that is specifically designed for hand sewing, because these and polyester threads, they don't hold up to the friction. And also in that video, she talks about specific kinds of hand sewing threads and where you can get them. So I definitely recommend checking out her video. And then you will need your project. And today I'm just using this piece of quilting cotton that I folded over twice to make a makeshift hem. And I'm going to be showing you on that how to stitch this slip stitch. So let's get started. So you're just going to want a length of thread that is probably about the length of your arm. You don't want to be too long because then it can get knotted. So I'm just going to take my thread, a single strand of thread, and just double it up here so that it's just got a little bit of a tail here. So it's just doubled up to there. And I don't have a knot at the end of it either. I don't generally knot the end of the thread. And you're going to take your project. And a single layer of thread is sufficient usually to make a project strong. You don't need to double up. The only time that I double up my thread is if I am doing a button. And then you're just going to anchor your thread. And the way that I like to do it is I will just come through just one stitch there, and then I will cross it over. And then if you really feel the need to, you can do like a little knot. So I just go through the needle, I go through the thread with the needle, and then I just pull it tight, and that's it. And now you can start stitching, and that's not going anywhere, as you can see. Okay, so for the slip stitch, you're just gonna take a tiny little piece of the fabric here with the needle, because this is what's going to show on the outside. And then you're going to take a tiny little piece of the fold. So again, just picking up a couple of threads, and then you're going to pick up the fold as well. And you're just going to continue to do this all the way across your project, trying to evenly space your stitches as much as you can. You can, if you really want to make them perfectly even, you can also mark your stitches, mark like on your fabric where you want your stitches to be, however far apart you want them to be. I usually don't do that because nobody's going to really look at your hem, but you can if you want to. So like you're just picking up like 1 or 2 threads in the actual fabric. So this is the hem. You're not going to see this. So on the other side, you can see right here, you can see a little stitch here, but the other stitches, and you can see one here, but the other stitches are kind of hidden in the pattern here of this fabric. And then just like 1 or 2 stitches here, and then your fold. And you also want to make sure that you're not pulling it too tightly, because then you'll get like some tension on here. That's not usually a problem. And then just like I said, 1 or 2 stitches here, 1 or 2 threads in the fabric, and then you're pulling through. Now, obviously, if you're using a matching thread, you're not going to see any of the stitches on the other side, but since I am using a contrasting thread, you can see where I made like a little bit of a bigger stitch, like here and here and here. But with a matching thread, none of that will be visible. And that's really it. You're just going to pick up 1 or 2 stitches here of this thread, and then you're going to also grab the folded over part, and then you're just going to pull it tight. And you can use your finger on the other side like I'm doing here. I have my finger here so that I can tell when it goes through the fabric and if I'm taking too much. So you can use that if you're trying to just catch like the seam allowance. So like if you're doing a lining, if you're slip stitching a lining instead of like hemming, if you're slip stitching a lining to just the seam allowance underneath, you can also use your finger under there as a guide to make sure you don't go through all the layers, because all you want to catch then is just the seam allowance of that bodice piece. And then that's it. You're just going to make sure that you're not grabbing too much of the fabric. So just like 1 or 2 stitches here of the threads of the fabric, and then the folded over piece. And you're just going to continue that all the way until you're done with your project. And like I said, you can use this stitch to do a hem, or you can use this stitch to do slip stitch a lining into place, which I've done on this channel before. I've just not shown the details of it, but it's the same concept. This fabric here that you're going to be stitching it to is just going to be the folded over seam allowance of the bodice on the inside. And that's it. And then this is how it is going to look on the outside. And you can kind of see some of my stitches here show through because I'm using a contrasting thread. So that's it. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like my content and want to support my channel, please like and subscribe. You can leave a comment in the comments below. Let me know what you thought. If there's anything else you want to see me demonstrate, other hand stitches, I'd be more than happy to do that. Let me know. And thanks again for watching. I will see you guys in my next video.